Hey everyone, this is a continuation of the last video. It's just more stressing rules in Mandarin, so let's get right into it. So first, we have the days of the week. Now there are three ways to express the day of the week in Chinese. You can use 周 followed by a number, 星期 followed by a number, or 礼拜 followed by a number. For all of them, you're going to want to stress everything except for 礼拜. 礼拜, usually you have the tones 3 and 4, but what I hear when people use 礼拜 is that it kind of gets de-stressed, so 礼拜. So let's go through these examples. 周一 is Monday. Notice I'm not saying 周一. It's 周一 flat throughout. Now with 星期, 星期二, 星期二, I'm not saying 星期二. You have to stress the number. Now, with 礼拜, it sounds a little bit weird if you say 礼拜三, 礼拜三. Usually it sounds more like 礼拜三, 礼拜三, like that. So you're going to want to de-stress 礼拜and stress the number. Now, for categories, this is something that I covered in my first video on Chinese phonetics, and I didn't really explain it thoroughly. So for this type of word, you're going to have two morphemes typically. And the first morpheme is a specific word, and the second morpheme is going to be a general word. It's kind of hard to explain, so I'll just give you an example. For instance, 中文. 中文 is actually how you would say it, not 中文. So the 中, that refers to the Middle Kingdom, China. And then 文, that is the written language, the script. The China part, that is the specific morpheme, and the 文 part is the general morpheme, or the category. So you want to de-stress the category and emphasize the specific thing. So 中文. Let's go through the other examples. 法国. I'm not saying 法国, it's 法国. 法国. The 国 only rises a little bit. So 法 is the specific word referring to France, and 国 is a general word meaning country. So 法国 instead of 法国. Now, 7点, this means 7 o'clock. So for 7点, you want to stress the number, not the unit. And this is something that I repeated before. So notice, I'm not saying 7点, it's 7点. 7点. So if I were to add l after it, which means it implies a change of state. So if you say 7点了, it means like it's 7 o'clock now. It's become 7 o'clock. So in that case, the 点, it wouldn't be like, it wouldn't fall and then rise. It would just be falling throughout. So notice, I'm not saying 7点了, it's 7点了. Not 7点了, but 7点了. So you want to de-stress the 点. Now, 蓝色, this is a color word. So 蓝 is the specific word referring to blue, and then 色 is the category, color. So I'm not saying 蓝色, rather it's 蓝色, 蓝色. The 色 gets de-stressed, 蓝色. So once again, 中文, 法国, 7点, 蓝色. Instead of 中文, 法国, 7点, 蓝色. Now, we're moving on to separable verbs. This is something that I covered before. I called it verb plus object phrases. For instance, 下棋, it means to play chess. Now, you might not know what 下means. In this case, it means to put something down, as in you're taking the chess piece and putting it down. You could interpret it that way. So the verb is 下, and 棋is the object. So you can separate them and that's a grammatical issue that I won't cover here, but if you recognize a word as separable, you should emphasize both parts. Stress both parts. 下棋, I'm not saying 下棋, but 下棋. Now, 打电话. 打电话 means to call with your phone, like make a phone call. 打 is the verb, and 电话 is the object. Now, 电话, typically both parts are stressed, but often when a word has 3 syllables in Chinese, the middle syllable kind of gets de-stressed in non-deliberate speech. And that's because the first and the last syllables of a word are the most important ones in terms of tone. So 打电话, 打, you want to make sure that's stressed. And then 话, you want to make sure that's also stressed with the 4th tone. 打电话. The 电, you can stress it, but it sounds a little bit awkward. 打电话. It just sounds a little bit more awkward than 打电话. But just make sure that the 话 is definitely stressed. You don't want to say 打电话. It's 打电话. Next one, 离婚. 离婚 means to divorce, to get a divorce. 离, to leave, I guess. And then 婚, marriage. So 离婚, I'm not saying 离婚, it's 离婚. Both parts are stressed. Now the next one is 游泳. And this is another one where it's kind of difficult to figure out where the verb and where the object is. It's hard to rationalize because 游 means to swim, and then 泳 means swim, but as a noun. So to swim a swim is swim in Chinese. So 游泳. Notice I'm not saying 游泳. 游泳, it's 游泳. Now, there's actually one case where for that type of word, the separable verb, you actually shouldn't stress everything. And that's when you ask a certain type of question. So in the first line, you see the first and the third words. Those are 开会, to hold a meeting. 开 means to open, and 会 is a meeting. So 开会, to have a meeting. But if I asked 开完会了吗? Then you'd actually de-stress the second syllable. And the reason is, what I'm asking is, are you done with the meeting? Not in an inquisitive way, like I want to find out if you're done with the meeting. It's more like, so in the end, did you finish the meeting after all? It's that sort of tone. So, 开完会了吗? If you were to ask it in a genuinely inquisitive fashion, like you're actually wondering if they finished the meeting, then you would say 开完会了吗? 开完会了吗? And you'd actually stress the 会. But the tone is different here. What I'm asking is, so did you, after all, finish the meeting? 开完会了吗? Now, 散步吗? That's one way to ask, are you going to take a walk if you're actually inquisitive about it? Now, you can actually de-stress the 步, and that has a different meaning. 散步吗? So, are you going to take a walk? Like in the end, are you going to do it or not? It's that sort of attitude. I wouldn't say 散步吗, but rather 散步吗? Now, 打篮球了吗? Did you play basketball? So here, usually you would stress the 篮球, right? Because it's verb plus object. So 打篮球, 打篮球. But when you have that sort of tone, like, so did you play basketball after all? Then you want to de-stress it. So 打篮球了吗? So you're emphasizing the first part of the word, the verb, but not the second part, the object. So 打篮球了吗? Instead of 打篮球了吗? 打篮球了吗 means, so did you play basketball? Like you're actually wondering. 打篮球了吗 means, so after all, like, did you even play basketball? And also, you should note that this type of intonation also applies to words that are not verb plus object. I'm just showing you this for verb plus object because it shows you that this type of intonation, the one associated with this, like after all sort of tone, it trumps the natural intonation of the word. So moving on to meaningful morphemes. And what I mean by this is, each part of the word actually means something significant. 手机, the first one, that means cell phone. 手 means hand, and then 机 is a device, so that's a cell phone. Your hand can hold a device. 手机, both parts are meaningful, so you want to stress both. 酱油 means soy sauce. The 酱 means sauce, and 油 means oil. So both parts are important to the word, so you stress them both. 酱油. I'm not saying 酱油, it's 酱油. You want to rise completely for the second tone. Now, it doesn't have to apply to just objects, like physical objects. A lot of them you have both parts being meaningful, but adjectives and verbs, you can also have this sort of structure. So 放松, for instance, that means to relax. The 放 means to put, to place, to let go, or to set or something. So, and then 松 means loose. So 放松, you could think of it as meaning let loose. Both parts of it are meaningful. So 放松, you wouldn't say 放松, but 放松, because the 放 is important and the 松 is important. It's not just letting or just loose, it's let loose. You have to have both parts. They're both meaningful. Now, 高兴, this is an adjective meaning happy in the excited sort of way. So 高兴, what it really comes down to is that the 高 means high and 兴 means something like excitement or spirits. You could think of it like that. So it's high spirits or high excitement. And in that sense, both parts of the word mean something meaningful. It's not just high and it's not just excitement. It's high excitement. That's what defines happiness. So 高兴, it's not 高兴. 高兴 is how you say it. 手机, 酱油, 放松, 高兴 instead of 手机, 酱油, 放松, 高兴, but rather 手机, 酱油, 放松, 高兴. Now, for words that do not follow that pattern, in other words, words with similar morphemes, where say both parts of the word actually mean the same thing, so they're synonyms or near synonyms, and technically you could take one away and it basically means the same thing still. These words get de-stressed on their second syllable. 幸福, for instance, that's the first one. It means happy, not like 高兴, but in a more like content sort of way. 幸福, both parts kind of mean happy or lucky or like luckiness, and they're synonyms. So 福, you should de-stress that. 幸福 instead of 幸福. The next one, 保持, means to maintain. I'm not saying 保持, but rather 保持. Both parts actually mean to maintain or something like that. The next one, 懒惰. 懒惰. I'm not saying 懒惰, 懒惰, but rather 懒惰. So the fourth tone, it starts a little bit lower. So instead of 惰, it's 惰, 懒惰. And that means lazy. Both parts actually mean lazy, so we de-stress the second part. The next one, 阴险. Yin means shady, kind of, or yin, there's a whole philosophical explanation for it, but you can think of it as like shady, dark. Also, it's associated with femininity, but yeah, anyway. 险, it means something similar, like shady, dangerous. 阴险 means something like crafty or cunning, like they're hiding something in the dark, you know. So 阴险, you want to de-stress the second part, because both things kind of allude to the shadiness sort of meaning. So they're not independently meaningful. So this one is 阴险, 阴险, instead of 阴险 or 阴险 in isolation. So once again, it's 幸福, 保持, 懒惰, 阴险, instead of 幸福, 保持, 懒惰, 阴险. Okay, again, it is 幸福, 保持, 懒惰, 阴险. Now, I hope these tips help. You should note that I'm not an academic researcher in this area. I think people who do academic research in Mandarin prosody, they're doing good work and it's more thorough than my observations. I still think if you follow the rules that I've observed, then you can sound more natural than if you just use pinyin. I think for a lot of these categories, there are more exceptions than I'm noting. So you should take these videos as guidelines for stress in Mandarin, but not the hard and fast rules. I don't think I'll make another video on word level stress in Chinese anymore. Instead, I'll make a sentence level stress video, and then I'll move on to other parts of Mandarin phonetics. So stick around, and if you have questions, just post them in the comments, and I will be reading every single one. I hope this video helps, and have a nice day.